Hey there. I think if I had let him finish that last note, I would have got another copyright violation. Trying to keep an eye on it. I feel like it gives first offenders maybe like, I don't know, 15 seconds or more. I could have sworn that was. Anyways, I'm gonna read a couple passages I thought were interesting. I just kind of randomly picked a book out of my weird stack of books from the back seat of my car, and I'll show you I'll tell you what we're gonna read in just a sec. But first, upon one of your recommendations, I picked up Pennsylvania's own Dad's Hat, distilled and bottled by Mountain Laurel Spirits, Bristol, Pennsylvania. So, and get this. Last time I was at the gift shop, I got a Gettysburg shot glass. Not because, well, whatever. But this way we don't have to swig from the bottle. Anyways, so this is rye. And I think it's fine. I think it's great. Some people will probably really like it. I'm really pretty much a straight bourbon guy, by the way. So, and it's 90 proof. But it's not bad. It's just it's quite of a bit of a different taste for me. So if I can speed this along, we're gonna read from Shelby Foote's Stars in Their Courses, and a couple passages I thought were fun. Hopefully I can find them pretty quickly. So we're talking about Meade, and right after he got the position, of course, which was 3 days before the Battle of Gettysburg. So here we go. None was more of a military question mark than the man who had just been given the most responsible job of all. This doubt was not so much because of any lack of experience. Meade performed well, if not brilliantly. I'm going to skip all that part. So what he lacked, in fact, was glamour, not his experience, not his will to fight, as I just blazed through. But what he lacked, in fact, was glamour, not only in his actions and dispatches, but also in his appearance, which a journalist said was more of a learned pundit than a soldier. 2 birthdays short of 50, he looked considerably older, with a small and compact head, balding head, a grizzled beard, outsized pouches under eyes that were serious, almost sad, and rather sunken, on each side of what the reporter charitably described as the late Duke of Wellington class of nose. The overall effect, although decidedly patrician and distinguished, was not the kind that brought forth cheers or wholesale tossing of caps, particularly when it was known to be combined with a hair-trigger temper and a petulance which tested in turn the patience of his staff. What's Meade ever done was a common response among the men, those outside his corps at least, when they heard that he was their new commander. The general himself had few delusions on this score. "I knew they called me a damned old snapping turtle," he remarked. And that's my favorite nickname of his. I don't know if it's a nickname of anybody else's, but. So moving on, we're going to look at basically another example of just leadership. So we're talking about Hancock, Sickles, and Howard, and when Hancock was basically promoted past Sickles and Howard, although they had, what I'm sure was very slight seniority and thus rank on them. And there are many stories like that in the battle in the Civil War. All 3 had been promoted to Major General on the same day back in November, but the other 2 had been made brigadiers before him, and they outranked him still. When he suggested that this might make for trouble up ahead, Meade showed himself a letter from Stanton stating that the President would be sustained in such arrangements by the President and the Secretary of War. So Hancock set out. Skip just a little bit. So he's learning about how things have been progressing early in the morning of day 1. Howard was waiting by. foresaw an extension of the disaster, again, early in the first day. The second to be charged against his name in the past 2 months. Anxious as ever to retrieve his reputation, which had been grievously damaged in the wilderness and practically demolished north of Gettysburg today, again on day one. He was chagrined to hear from Hancock that Meade had sent him forward to take charge. "Why, Hancock, you cannot give orders here," he exclaimed. "I command and rank you." When the other repeated that such were Meade's instructions all the same, he would still not agree. "I no doubt your word, General Hancock," he said stiffly, "but you can give no orders while I am here." Hancock basically avoided having the exchange degenerate into a public squabble by pretending to defer to Howard's judgment and deciding whether to stand fast or fall back. "I think this is the strongest position by nature on which to fight a battle that I ever saw," he said, looking east along the fishhook lines from Culp's Hill to Round Tops, "and if it meets your approbation, I will select this as the battlefield." When Howard replied that he agreed the position a strong one, Hancock concluded, "Very well, sir. I select this as the battlefield." So he kind of pretended to go along with it. I just thought these were kind of interesting, case studies in leadership. This is how some soldiers described Hancock the Superb. "I remember how refreshing to note even his linen clean and white, his collar free and wide, and his broad wristbands showing large and rolling back from his firm, finely molded hands. Carl Schurz, who might have been expected to side with Howard, his immediate superior, found Hancock's arrival most fortunate at this juncture. It gave the troops a new inspiration," he declared. "They knew him all by fame, his stalwart figure, his proud mien, and his superb soldierly bearing seemed to verify all the things that fame had told about him. His mere presence was a reinforcement, and everybody on the field felt stronger for his being there." So, it's kind of interesting, that this last one obviously is making the point that, abilities aside, and seniority aside, sometimes when it comes to leadership, that there are just certain qualities that men take to and that men relate to, that men are open to hear, so on and so forth. And I just thought these were kind of neat little examinations of how leaders are seen, and that it takes more than good strategy and good communication and so on and so forth, but there are other attributes as well, and for better for worse, that includes sometimes can include physical characteristics, and may not make or break, might not make all the difference. Sometimes they play a little bit more of a factor. I'm just gonna have a little small one. Sometimes might play a slightly more important part than people think they might. Cheers. Let me see. I know everybody's seen The Hotel. Don't ask me what I'm watching. I just turned the TV on. This is the room. Got some good snickerdoodle cookies from Bantam when I went to get my latte. So, anyhow, guys, it's been another short but really good trip. I always say I'm not going to take a lot of videos, so this time I kind of didn't. I don't know, this is maybe 3 or 4 or so. I'm going to be speeding things along, well, in case these get placed out of order. And if they haven't, then you've probably seen like a good flurry of videos in the last week, because I'm starting to realize that I really got to start letting some of them roll. And so, most people only post something, every 3 or 4 days or less. But I think 3 or 4 days is average, but I'm going to start firing some off if I haven't already. So, till next one, guys.